That might not be a good thing, I don't know.
And then I'm just gonna let everyone. So where's the, I'm gonna allow everyone to share. Oops. How do I allow everyone to share?
Here's my
Congratulations, that belongs to you.
Oh, when was it he born?
She.
Okay.
Clara is her name.
Oh, pretty
Yeah, that's where it is right here.
Joy.
It's up on the
And
screen.
she was born on February 11th.
Can share.
So I was down there. She was
What's
just
the bottom of it say?
very sweet, you know.
No
You
one.
know how newborns are.
Sure.
Okay.
And they're living
are-
where? Indianapolis?
Let's see.
Well, congratulations, good for you.
Thank you. Here he is, singing and dancing with you. You know, yeah,
This
he's
one,
kind
right?
of the dancer. It's a Tupac
Yep.
song. He's
Well,
singing.
you gotta
I
do
moved him
that.
over, whoever that is.
We all go
Oh,
through that.
okay, hi, I'm Angela. You're having friends?
One just turned 25 this week and one will be 21 in September.
So I'm,
Both of them still home?
Yeah, I get the feeling they're never gonna leave. I get the feeling they're never gonna leave.
So. Are we gonna make the cheapest? Comply with the new fence?
that's why
Say me back to the side, face of the house, come on. Come on over the other side.
Yeah.
Or you rule the whole site going down the block. I'm gonna play Jumanji. Play Jumanji. Site, oh, he'd sit in his corner and he'd just develop his disdain for differences and how they separate.
I think they should focus on that.
Absolutely, especially since it's gonna be a 6 foot funnel. It looks like a fucking cicada.
So that's that.
Pardon my French. Yeah,
Hello?
turn off the
Yeah,
arm
looks
over
like you
top.
got your, it's higher than the others.
Well, the casino is going to be higher, of
No,
course.
The one
Parking
garage is
garages are
higher.
different.
I think they were.
Yeah, they were different elevations.
But what, they were side by side too. Yeah, the eastern one was taller, but it
Right.
wasn't 50.
For sure.
I won't bet on it, but what do I,
Yeah, well,
that's the problem, people think I don't know much. So
is that right?
it is.
Little do they know.
Yeah, see, that guy's already. Give me the evil eye, pal, and I'll pop you. Where to put this? It's the lower part. I don't stare at him, making him more uncomfortable.
I don't want to do this.
You're looking to see if it.
No, I can, I have it,
What
the heights.
yeah,
Let me go back to the
from
last.
last.
Oh, I left my flash drive at home. That's where I keep it. Hey, how do you like that new accessing? I don't like it at all. And then today I went to try to go back to it. It was vaporized. Nothing was there.
Oh, really?
Hmm.
They had, I went back to it today and they had this meeting and then all of the.
Yeah,
Village
no,
board
I
meetings.
don't know what happened to it.
I downloaded it right away.
Well, I did too, but see, you got to individual. You can't do a save all. That's what I don't like about this new
Yeah.
system.
I just want Angela to print everything out on a piece of paper, on paper for me and give it to me.
What was what was the
Sometimes
last
it helps, so that's why.
Yeah, I printed a few things out.
February?
February 24th, I think.
Yeah. So I'm due to talk to Bill O'Brien on something else. So I'm fully expecting him to be here tonight.
Oh, yeah, we will be here. Gotta count his parking spots. So, yeah, no.
And then, oh, that's it. Oh, I know.
That's it.
Yeah,
Here.
there it is, I got it. Let's see. So it's just probably in the agenda packet.
Always. 175 pages long. Okay, here we go.
There he is.
Yeah, one was three parking levels above. That's the one that was next to the
Right.
or the west, and the one in the east was 4 above.
Right, that's what I said. The eastern one was taller.
Yeah, right, but what's the type? What does it say? That's it.
You have to look for the architecture. One was, I can't read that.
51, and
Oh.
one was 38,
Okay, so
not
the,
including the
so the
tower.
eastern one was
Was 50.
one, yeah.
But it's in the-
So
That's
it's, so it's not an increase from the previous. It's
See, I
just
was-
now it's more.
Yeah,
All of the increase on
All
the
of them.
side side, on
Right.
the west side.
right. Where it is.
Kind of makes sense. Why bother with all the split of
Oh,
the building?
absolutely.
Just put one.
That'd be more cost efficient to have one building than to have two.
Not a bad idea.
Listen, that. Oh, there wasn't one there.
Yeah, right,
Right.
that's right.
So where are you working these days?
Still, STV, still
Oh,
working
yeah.
on the CTA project.
Oh, CTA.
Hopefully we'll get substantial completion around September, October. So start phasing out from some other stuff. And then we'll have a discussion with the National Bridge Director.
CWI.
Certified building inspector. Wants to get me involved in doing reviews of bridge drawings. Buildability reviews, constructability reviews and stuff like that for moving bridges. That's what I did. Working on Worcester and industrials.
Yeah, very impressive.
So we could be working on some projects out in the Northeast too. We have a lot of
Bridges, yeah.
bridge stuff in progress.
Hmm. Yeah, I might have a temporary assignment in California. Looking for K5 with my business partner. Coming into help 10 years ago, we had to close our offices and he lost his building actually, and his wife died of cancer. So he works for K5 and he does a lot of railroad work. And so he's a superintendent. So
Hi.
I might be assigned with him to do that. That's kind of cool.
Good evening.
Hey, Fred.
Fred? What's your name?
Temporarily, maybe, yeah.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Well, enjoy it while you're here. Good evening. I guess everybody's here, we can get started.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting to order for March 24th. We have 3 items on our agenda. And the way we conduct our meetings is we're going to have a roll call. We're getting into petitioners. We're going to ask them to come up to the podium, state their name and address for the record. As all testimony is taken under oath. Anybody in the audience that has a question, we ask you to raise your hand. And we're going to ask you to state your name and address for the record also. Okay? And we have 2 sets of minutes to approve for tonight's meeting. Also, we're going to set a 10 o'clock deadline. Okay? Roll call.
Member Alfonso?
Here.
Member Bernstein?
Here.
Member Cap?
Here.
Member Planera?
Here.
Member O'Brien?
Here.
Member Johnson?
Here.
Chairman Tarzega?
Here. Our first set of minutes we have to approve is from January 27th. Anybody have any corrections on those?
I have one. I believe I was here for roll call, so my name isn't on the list.
I've got one on page 6. First paragraph, 3rd sentence says, Member Bransky stated that he understands the need to control the density and use, but we don't want to prohibit the use. And I don't think that's what I said, because the word use occurring in consecutive like that sounds like a double negative. What I was trying to say about the short-term rentals in the second part of that sentence was that we don't want to prohibit the feasibility of operating a legit short-term rental. That's what I was trying to say. So the first half of the sentence is, yeah, we want to control it so they don't get out of control. Second half of the sentence, we don't want to prohibit them from existing at all. So got to find the fine line.
Okay.
And, that's it for that.
Anybody else?
I have one on 4, about 2/3 of the way down. Stated that there are 12 driveways that are shared. I would add in the village.
Okay. Anybody else? Everybody else is good? All right, I'll request a motion to approve
So moved.
as corrected. Brian?
I second it.
Roll call, please.
Member Alfonso?
Yes.
Member Bransky?
Yes.
Member Cap?
Yes.
Member Planera?
Yes.
Member O'Brien?
Yes.
Member Johnson?
Yes.
Chairman Sarzega?
Yes. All right, the next one we have to approve is from February 10th.
I've got one on page 8. Third sentence down. Says Member Bransky asked if residents could come in, and this was about the brewery and the south line between the residences and the drive. That would be on the south side of the brewery property. Member Bransky asked if residents could come in and petition for a fence and asked if it would be on them to maintain. Mr. Mathis and staff liaison Sarah both stated yes. And for the life of me, I'm like, who's them in that sentence? Are we talking about the residents have to maintain it or the business owner has to maintain it? And I'm thinking, if you go back to the recording and listen to the context of it, the fact that Mr. Mathis responded yes, meaning that the business owner has to maintain that fence, is what I think we were stating. But you might want to double check. Go back to the tape. And see, I think I had one more. Oh, and also in that sentence, there's a typo in my name. They flip-flopped the K and the S. It happens like every other time. I'm used to it. Well, I got one more. Actually, two more. I'm on page 10, and I'm on, I guess what would be bottom third of the page, like the fourth paragraph up from the bottom. Member Bransky stated there are good concerns from the residents that don't have to be in the mothing. I think that was supposed to be the motion. And the other item in that sentence, just to clarify, I stated that regarding the parking lot, most people will walk a distance for a good beer. What's missing in there is that it was regarding the relationship of the front entry to the back or north parking lot. There was concern about that being too far. And I was just trying to establish that, once again, for a good beer, people will walk that, not a concern. That's all I got.
I have one, page 11. I was not here at this meeting, so I was also not here for the vote on the adjournment. I think Member Johnson was also absent that evening as well.
The last day. Yeah,
Right.
actually, I think that's right, but they had.
Well, they had, this is Feb 10. On Feb 10, they had both you and I absent. On the vote for adjournment, we're both listed as an aye. So
Yeah, you were both absent.
We knew you would agree.
Yeah.
I have one since we're going around. On page 12, third paragraph from the bottom, Mr. Banks stated he wanted to commend the commission because they do a wonderful job. And he probably says we should keep the community going or something. I mean, that sentence needs to be fixed a little bit.
Okay. Anybody else?
I have one on 11.
Okay.
It's the last sentence before the vote. It says staff liaison Mazzaro stated the code defines it as a craft brewery, so not, it does not. I don't know what that means. What would be the purpose of that you're being quoted?
The craft brewery,
So it does not.
the reason it was defined
It
as a
just
craft
has
brewery
an
in the
extra
code,
not in
I
there.
need to find the sentence and see what I was saying. Let's see.
So it does not, so what?
I only question it because it says the code defines.
Yeah, the code defines,
We're coming as a craft brewery.
as a craft brewery. I don't think that the rest of the sentence needs to be there.
Oh, so it does not.
Yeah.
In the findings of fact.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
but we can take that out, that's last words.
Okay.
Apparently you were saying, you heard that.
Didn't get enough of it.
Okay, anybody else? Nope. I will then request a motion to approve the minutes from
So
the
moved.
February 10th meeting.
And I'll second it as well.
Okay, O'Brien and Camp.
Member Alfonso,
Yes,
member Bransky,
Yes,
member Cap,
Yes.
member Planera,
Yes.
member O'Brien,
Yes.
member Johnson, member Terzega.
Yes. All right, the first case we're going to hear tonight is going to be a continuation from our February 10th,
Yes, February 10th.
which is the special use for a parking deck for Wind Creek Casino. Is the petitioner here?
Yes, petitioners.
You'd like to come up?
Were you going to share a presentation?
Good evening again.
it is.
We've already been sworn in at the last meeting, so we don't have to do that again.
Mr. Chairman, should I ask members of our team who weren't here at the last meeting, should they?
Please.
Okay. We have some on Zoom,
Right.
and we have some present, so can we just ask them to stand up? Or
Have them to stand up, state their name and address.
anyone who was not here at the February 10th meeting, if you'd state your name and address.
Home address?
You can use your business
Any
address.
Home address or?
Business is fine.
Business is
Business
fine.
is one group, it's in the property on Hallsville Street.
Okay. Okay.
Bonnie Well, age engineering, and just really wanted to recruit that.
Okay.
Brad Barrow, Water Consultants, 850 West Jackson, Chicago.
And you in the back, sir?
Matthew Shoemakers, Gage Civil, 3010 Drive.
Okay. Do you all swear that the testimony you're going to give is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. All right, so we had several questions for you at the last meeting, and so we've got some answers.
I hope we do. Before.
I got one question before
Yes, sir.
you start. Where did the fifth floor come from on the parking garage?
The fifth floor?
Uh-huh. In one of our maps, it showed a fifth floor in one of the parking garages.
On the first time. Yeah. That was part of the February 10th submittal. It hasn't been changed. Oh, forgive me.
No, it wasn't.
On the four-level parking structure to the west. Correct, we made a change, which I was about to explain. On the resubmittal.
Yeah, we never discussed the fifth floor on one of the,
No, it came out of the sound study that we did. We were trying to eliminate sound transmission to the gardens of Homewood. And one of the things we did not think about the first time was the fact that we're a 24/7 operation. So from the standpoint of car alarms, loud speaking late at night,
The sound engineer suggested that we increase the parapet to 6 feet to help reduce the sound transmission to the Gardens of Homewood. What we decided to do was continue and just put a roof on that deck. So there'd be no sound transmission whatsoever. So that's what changed on that particular thing, and that's a proposal.
But there'll be no parking up there, just
There'll be parking on the level, but we're putting a roof on top of it and enclosing the face that faces the Gardens of Homewood.
so you want to add another level to that garage is what you want to
No,
do.
it's the same level, we're just putting a roof on it. We had a 4-level, it's still a 4-level garage.
Okay,
We're putting a roof on it. There's no parking on the 5th level.
okay. All right,
Okay.
that answers that. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Before I ask Vern Lohman to walk through our revised submittal, I just want to give a brief overview. At our first meeting, there are excellent questions that were raised, and we tried to address them, and we hope that we've addressed them appropriately. There was a concern regarding the 2 parking garage concept, sharing a service drive with opposing entrances and exits. We engaged Walker Consulting, a structured parking expert, in concert with our traffic engineer, KOA, to assist us. The solution was to remove the service drive and propose 1 garage with much better ingress and egress and more efficient internal circulation. Another very real concern regarded the impact of noise transmission from the precast walls of the west face of the garage to the residents of the Garden of Homewood. We were requested to do a sound study. We engaged Dr. Thomas Thunder of Acoustic Associates Limited. After completing the testing, he recommends that we apply noise barriers to the west face of the garage above the 1st level. We have incorporated that into our submittal. He also recommends we replace the stockade fence with a solid fence with sufficient surface density to prevent sound from going through the fence. We have incorporated that in our transmittal. Lastly, and this is what we just discussed, because our facility is a 24/7 operation, he pointed out that car alarms and loud talking could be a problem. To address this issue, we are proposing to roof the top floor of a 4-level parking structure to eliminate the sound transmission, also eliminate the need for snow removal. Another item from our last meeting questioned how we will handle tour bus parking. We have incorporated a specific area in the southwest portion of the garage to allow tour bus drop-off and staging with pedestrian access through the garage to the casino. We still intend to provide long-term parking for tour buses off-site. And then this evening, so we can answer any questions that you have, we brought our entire team. So in person or by Zoom, we have Brent Pinkston, who's the Chief Operating Officer for Wind Creek. Brian Romanelli, I believe, is on Zoom, and Vern Lohman from Sullivan and Caldwell Benz. We have Brad Navarro of Walker Consultants, Matt Schumacher and Claudia Welp from Cage Engineering. Dr. Thomas Thunder of Acoustic Associates is on Zoom, and Javier Milan of KLA Traffic Engineers to answer any of your questions.
Okay, thank you.
So if I may, I'm going to turn it over to Vern, and we'll just walk you through in detail.
All right.
Vern, thank you.
Did we swear in the people that are on the Zoom? Are they sworn in?
Were they on Zoom last time, or are these new people on
Dr.
Zoom?
Thunder was not on Zoom last time, and Brian Romanelli was not on Zoom last time. I don't know.
Are they both up there?
Do they announce themselves?
So if we can get them on so we can swear them in.
Brian, Don Thunder, are you on Zoom?
I'm on Zoom, yes. This is Brian Romanelli with SCB 625 North Michigan, Chicago, Illinois.
Right now.
Don Thunder, are you on Zoom?
Yes.
Okay, this is Tom Thunder. I'm on Zoom.
Could you give your address and then be sworn in?
Address is 867 Scottsdale Drive in Pingree Grove, Illinois.
Okay, and both of you swear the testimony you're going to give is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
I do.
Thank you. All right, sir.
All right, if we could share the screen for the garage exhibits. Is it, all right, if you could expand your screen as much as you can. You can go to the first page, the site plan. Yes, thank you. So what we're seeing here is our proposal for the garage. As Pat mentioned, it's now one interconnected operational garage. The main entrance is now where that through road used to be. If you could point to the main entrance on the north facade, right there, on the garage itself. Right, yeah, right there. That's the main entrance to the garage. So as you come in off of Halsted, yes, that drive there, which is signaled, you turn left and you enter directly into the garage. As Walker and we have worked through this, that having that frontal entrance will really assist in wayfinding people to find themselves directly into the garage without cross traffic. Just to the north of there is a small valet parking area for valet holding and so on. Then the connector just to the north of that connects the garage to the hotel and the casino. On the south side of the garage is, along that area is the parking for 4 buses directly adjacent to the building and 3 additional that are kind of angled in the right there within the parking area for 7 total spaces. And the staging and holding for those buses would be offset. If you go to the next drawing, please. Here we see at a larger scale the main entrance on the north side of the garage that connects with the Halsted entry. On the south side of the garage is a secondary entry that handles traffic coming in from the right in, right out entry off of Halsted. So that traffic is snagged as they come in and directed directly into the garage at that south facade. Then the 3 parking spaces for the buses and the 4 directly adjacent to the building. Really hard to see on this drawing, but there's a small lobby there for a lobby and lounge for people who are assembling for the buses, and then they can make their way to the north to the connector and so on to the hotel and casino. Right there is the main elevator bank for the garage on the northwest corner, connecting through to the connector and to the casino as well. Next page. And these are the upper levels of the garage. You see on the north side of the facade of the garage is a walkway that is separate from the traffic flow itself that allows people who are going to be using the hotel and the casino to get out of the way of the traffic that's flowing through the garage. That's about an 8-foot walkway separate from the flow of the traffic itself. So we think that's a good addition to the safety and usability of the garage. That all connects to the main elevator core on the northwest corner as well. You can see the stacked ramps on the south side of the garage, allowing kind of free flow connections to the various levels. Next drawing. Here you see the upper levels on the left, where is the full garage, the full footprint. Then on the right, the drawing on the right is where the structure sets back. So it's one less level that faces west. So that's still the same height in terms of number of floors of garage. that was proposed before, with the addition of a roof. Next page. You'll see that the architectural expression is very much like it was at our previous proposals. South elevation shows on the lower left the bus, this is the bus queuing area. That lighter area there is the lobby for the bus patrons. You can see where the building steps up one floor as it gets further to the east. See on this facade in the middle approximately is the secondary entrance that comes in on the south side of the garage. That again connects directly to the left in, the right in, right out entry off of Halsted. Bottom drawing, this is the west elevation. This is the elevation that faces the neighborhood to the west. As before, this is completely enclosed and would incorporate the acoustic treatment that Pat mentioned before. Next drawing. Then you see here on the top drawing, north elevation, the main entry to the garage in the center with signage for the facility. You can see the step in the building as well, where it steps down to a lower level facing the neighborhoods. And then the east elevation, which faces Halsted, is the drawing on the bottom. And the treatment for the garage would be all the same all the way around in terms of materials, 3 colors of smooth finish architectural concrete, a high level of finish for the garage. That's it. Thank you.
So I thought you were talking about the acoustic treatment.
Dr. Thunder, if you could speak to that. I'm not an acoustician.
What was the question, Dexter?
Acoustic treatment. I thought that's what we covered.
Yeah.
I can address some of it. It was a learning experience for me in particular, based on the comments at our February 10th meeting. I always thought coniferous material and stockade fences helped with visual and sound blockage. Not the case. Dr. Thunder identified that unless you have a forest that's 100 feet deep, trees don't do much as far as sound attenuation. So again, he recommended that we go to a Semtech type fence, which is a solid fence. Stockade fences, because they have lattices and so on, there are openings and there's sound transmission. This solid fence with the 3-foot berm and the 6-foot high fence provides sound protection from the standpoint of the ground floor area. He also, because we're in line of sight, even though we're 1,600 feet away from the expressway, as a line of sight, he suggested, as was identified at our first meeting, there would be bounce off of the hard surface concrete panels that we have in the garage. The fact we didn't have any fenestrations or openings enhanced the issue with regards to potential back into the cabins of Homewood. So he's recommending that we use a 2-inch thick sound absorption panel that would cover roughly 60 to 70% of the facade above the ground level all the way to the top. So those were his 3 recommendations, in addition to what we've identified earlier on what used to be the open 4th level deck that we totally enclosed that with the roof and the.
You don't have any pictures of the sound deadening material, do you?
No, we don't. That's 2 inches.
I saw it in the.
With perforations. I don't think we have it on this one. Okay. Dr. Thunder, did I?
Yes, can you hear me?
Appropriately? Okay.
Yes, that was right on.
And the fence is going to be a solid fence, not there's no separation.
Correct.
Between the boards.
That's correct.
All right. What else we got? Anybody on the board have any questions yet? Oh, what he's already talked about? Okay, you want to do them now? Go ahead.
So I'm very grateful that you managed to find somebody with Dr. Thunder's capabilities and qualifications on this. He's an audiologist as well. I know that he's done a fair amount of industrial hygiene type of activity, sound studies to mitigate noise in the workplace. He's also done, I would say, similar analogous investigations in alongside tollways. So, I mean, it all makes sense. I have to admit, as a prelude to my questions, in situations like this, I am a lot more experienced with the Federal Highway Administration traffic noise model. So it's the principles, I suppose, are the same as what Dr. Thunder used, but it's a different format, and it's I would say a little bit more of a involved analysis. It would be analogous to your traffic study, where you not only look at peak hour traffic counts, but you also examine the traffic over a 24-hour period to actually verify what the peak hours are. I'm also, as a quick and dirty analysis, I'm also familiar with the HUD. Everybody's familiar with HUD. What they have a day-night noise model, very quick and dirty. And the idea is, of course, HUD wouldn't want to have any of its residential units affected by the ambient noises from traffic, airports, ports, railroads, etc. So having said that, what I'm more familiar with in analyzing a situation like this is either the Federal Highway Administration model software or HUD. And using the HUD based upon some of this information, I have to admit, I'm just a little skeptical about the ambient noise levels reported here. I think they're coming off the tollway, they're actually greater, which would therefore increase the concern about how the traffic noise will likely be funneled down to our residential neighborhood. I applaud the efforts of the idea of using these acoustic panels, because it does address the sound that would be coming from the tollway and reflected and perhaps even magnified with the bouncing back and forth. I'm not exactly clear, so I'm finally to the question. I'm not exactly clear on the 60% of the facade that you intend to cover with this absorbent material. Could you maybe, to clarify that, could you be a little bit more specific, please?
I cannot.
Okay.
Dr. Thunder? Sorry.
Sure, I can. Yeah, you have to remember that we have modeling software that takes that traffic volume, and we can determine hourly sound levels every hour. But when you can make a direct measurement, that's the best measurement, and that's what we did, is to go out and make a direct measurement. And the figure 2 on my report shows the hourly as it's adjusted by the traffic volume in the area. And that's how we were able to determine that the sound levels in that area as it exists now would drop down to about 43 dB at night. During the daytime, it's about 55 decibels a peak at the rush hour, which is what you would expect. That day-night level that you referred to commonly used statistic to describe the sound level over the course of a 24-hour period. That's printed on figure 2. That was calculated out at 56 decibels. So it's not a measurement of sound as it would impact neighbors, because it's not a HUD analysis, it's not a housing development that's going up there. The real question was, is the existence of that large flat wall going to enhance the noise that's already there? The casino, of course, can't do anything about the ambient noise that's already there. But what you don't want the casino wall to do is to elevate that any more than what it is. And so that's why we specified these sound absorbing panels on that side. We've determined that it only needs to be 60 to 70% coverage. That's to make it more architecturally appealing. Also, you do gain some benefit from diffraction around the edges of those 2 inches panels, so it's very seldom that you would find a coverage of 100%. The architect has a lot more flexibility in arranging those panels in a more aesthetic way. And each of those panels have what's called a noise reduction coefficient of 0.95. So what that means is that 95% of the tollway noise that hits it, 95% of it is absorbed. And that basically means it renders that wall ineffective now as an acoustic reflector of sound. So it's not going to quiet the sound for the neighbors, but it's going to assure that the presence of that wall does not enhance that ambient noise any more than what it is.
So is there intended to be some sort of monitoring to, let's say, fine tune where these absorbent panels are placed? Is it going to be a fixed installation, or is it intended to be flexible to move them around?
Any further, Dr. Thunder?
That can be put in any random fashion, as long as it's equally spread over the whole surface. Is all that's important from an acoustical standpoint. For example, you wouldn't want 60% of the coverage to be all on the north side or all on the south side. It should be equally distributed around that full surface area.
So is something like this suitable then for review with the building plans, I presume?
Forgive me?
Would the placement of these panels be therefore suitable for review with the building plan submission, building permit plans?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, both of you used the phrase line of sight, and it's you would almost think that it's a misnomer because we're actually talking about the line of hearing in a sense, but it's used in a very technical sense in situations like this. The usual rule of thumb that I'm accustomed to in situations like this is that sound barriers to actually obstruct, impede, try to block the noise generation. The line of sight is usually made equal to the height of the noise generation, the noise emitter. And in that, what that usually translates to, therefore, would be the height of a truck, which would put it into the 10 or 12-foot range for the height. Your barrier is 9, 3, and 6. So have Dr. Thunder, could you address the line of sight when it comes to the rule of thumb for a line of sight barrier, like a sound wall on what would be the west side?
Certainly. The rule of thumb typically is that you get a 5 to 6 decibel reduction if you can block the line of sight. And for every foot you go above that line of sight, you typically get almost a decibel of a reduction. So when you're looking at barriers and their ability to block the sound, you're looking at 2 paths of sound. One is the direct path, and one is what's called the diffractive path, the path that bends over the top of the barrier. So by making this a solid fence, we are blocking effectively the direct line of sight source. So we're forcing all that sound to go over the top. And you're quite correct. If there were trucks moving back and forth in there at night, it would most definitely have to be a higher barrier because the effective height of a truck is higher than it would be of a car passing along in the back. So if you have a 6-foot solid fence on top of a 3-foot berm, you have effectively a 9-foot fence. And for a source like a car going back and forth, that would be plenty adequate. It would not be for a truck, but I'm understanding that there aren't any trucks that would pass by there during the middle of the night.
Well, we discussed this the last time, if you recall, and it gets into potential enforcement issues. So, I was taking the approach of trying to make this idiot-proof and just go with a slightly taller barrier. So that's still my position on this. Is there any way we could maybe think about making some sort of assurance that when this is finally constructed and we're not speculating or extrapolating what the actual sound projection will be, we could measure what is being experienced out there at the property line, and if it would be in excess of this threshold of the 66 dB, then that would indicate a need for better mitigation of the sound.
Yes.
Okay.
Anything else?
When you say a higher barrier, are you specifically talking about the fence structure, or are you talking about increasing the berm? Because then you're gonna get into the problem of, are you again creating drainage issues for the homes on that side?
They could figure out the drainage
It would
issues.
probably have to be the fence because there are some areas that we don't have the room.
You don't have the rooms,
For
because you go
space,
higher with the
right,
berm, you gotta
right.
have more real estate to do it.
So some people call it a hybrid, but however, I'd be an advocate of a 12-foot high barrier, because that provides the line of sight for, again, the line of sight in quotation marks for any traffic, which might include buses, fire apparatus, trucks at 2 a.m. in the morning.
So what you're talking about is something that's higher than the 3 and 6.
Right. But if they're unwilling to do that, I would say in lieu of that, if we could have some firm assurance that if, when this is constructed and operational, there appear to be some exceedance, let's say, of what's extrapolated in this report, that they would be willing at that point to do whatever it would take to mitigate the sound impact.
If I may, Dr. Thunder, are you aware of the Simtac fence that you recommended? Does that come in a 9-foot height?
I believe it does, yes. I mean, you could,
Well, then we'll do 12 feet.
you could ask for a higher one.
That solves
Yeah, I just assumed we want something decorative, not like the panels you see on the tollway.
Well, no, the
So
Simtec,
that's, I didn't realize Simtec came in 9 feet.
Simtec is a very good product. This
Oh, I
is
know, I didn't
actually
know it
very
came in
good.
9 feet.
Yeah,
That's-
neither did I.
That's unusual
so,
size.
Yeah.
That's why we,
So you would have no problem with the 9-foot type of fence?
yes, we'll do the 9 feet. Great.
Now, just also to, for me to express my gratitude and also recognize the Quiet Perf from the Noise Barrier Company. I had quite a few minutes, maybe hours spent in conversation with them and their contractor. So their materials come very highly regarded. These noise, these absorbent acoustic noise panels, the Quiet Perf, are actually both very attractive and very effective. So this is all good.
Yes, if I might say, Noise Barrier is a very reputable product. They're in their 3rd generation of ownership. I knew the guy from 40 years ago that started it. And they're locally owned and operated, so it's a very reputable company.
Member Cap mentioned, we were talking earlier about the traffic on 80 there. I think there was something in the packet, that I can't call it pages, but, about the need to change the hours that trucks can come through. I think it's a hot part of 174th Street. Onto the service road, that being a part of, I think it was a part of the study, correct?
Yes.
Consideration. What hours are you thinking about?
Well,
limiting?
actually, Brent, would you like to address that?
Sure. So when we have a facility similar, almost like this with a resident behind it, we generally don't staff our warehouses for a night shift or overnight shift. Operation is just more efficient. So 90% of our deliveries come between 6 a.m. and 2 in the afternoon. And and we get about 10% between 2 and 10. So from an operational perspective, we like everything to come during the day. We actually don't even staff the warehouse and the team overnight or even on night shift. So we have operational procedures if something is needed from the warehouse that they rec out following the security and get things out of the warehouse. So we don't even staff, we wouldn't even have anyone there to receive anyone coming in at those hours. So we generally only staff one shift for a warehouse.
No, I understand. I don't want to botch you into a time that you might need to be able to get to, but I thought I saw something back. I apologize, I can't point exactly to it, but I thought there was a recommendation that the hours be set.
We generally set the hours in which our deliveries come. So when we're receiving something, we dictate the times, because if everyone shows up all at once, we have 4 or 5 trucks just sitting there. They don't want to wait either because they're wasting their time and gas. So we set hours on delivery times. And we have a few major suppliers that do regular runs, especially for food deliveries and paper goods. So those are the 2 major ones that show up. We schedule them so they're in and out because they got other deliveries to make throughout the day too. So.
Well, yeah, just maybe the resident expert or expert. Was that something that is that what he meant in the report when he said the need to set the hours? Is that something you had a conversation with them about?
I think this is, you're referring to Dr. Thunder's report? Yeah, there is no overnight delivery. It suggests there'd be no truck deliveries in the hours. So that's what we're adhering to.
The report says trucks must be prohibited from this road during nighttime hours.
That's right. Yeah, what page is that?
That was on page 3. It's in
The
the
second page of his.
third paragraph, second sentence.
Right. No, that's what you said. Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Anybody else have any questions before we continue? All right. What was some of our other questions we had for you that you can answer? We got the correct parking counts now. The other questions we had were snow removal, and we've got that on the maps now. Where that will go. There was a question about the oil separator for the stormwater.
Yeah, so we'll be, underneath the parking garage, that'll be an oil separator or a water separator.
Could you come up?
Okay.
Yeah, please.
Sure.
It's easier to hear you.
Sure, yeah, no problem. So underneath the parking garage, there'll be an oil water separator in there, and that'll go directly to sanitary, not to stormwater. So the parking garage any water picked up from floor drains within the parking garage will go to sanitary, but we'll go through an oil separator first.
Okay, what about the sewers that are in the exterior parking lots?
The parking lots will go to stormwater like normal.
That'll go through an oil separator also.
Not general parking lots, those don't tend to go through an oil separator. Only parking garages, or sanitary coming from the kitchen or something like that.
Okay, and why not the exterior parking lots, that stormwater going into an oil separator?
Normal stormwater just doesn't tend to go through oil separators. It just free flows into regular stormwater and then it goes to its treatment plants. That's usually how that goes.
Question about the water connection, I guess that's.
You have a question, Dexter?
No, you were asking, there were
okay.
A couple other topics that included water connection, water for hotel.
Can you answer questions about water connections?
Yeah, so the water connection for the parking garage does come from Homewood, and that does loop around the parking garage. And then the water connection to the casino is East Hazel Crest, and that loops around East Hazel Crest. So that's how the water connection will go.
Okay. Any questions on this end?
Well, just to clarify, when you say loop around the parking garage, it's going to completely encircle it? Or
Yes, it goes completely around.
outside of the
Outside, yep.
of the structure or internal?
Exterior.
Okay. And you've talked about this with our village engineer?
Yes, we worked with both East Hazel Crest and Homewood. Oh, sorry.
So the water for the garages comes from Homewood?
Yes, it does.
The water for the casino itself comes from East Hazel Crest?
Correct.
Okay. What else do we have? Now, they've answered the question about the tour buses, but they're going to be staged off-site, and you don't know where yet.
Correct, Pat, unless you know the location. The location the tour buses will stage off-site. I don't know if that location has been determined yet. Oh, the tour buses where they're going to stage off-site.
We're still looking for real estate.
Okay.
We're in conversations, hopefully with the village department also, as potential site.
Now, you've got another operation, you said, in
We have
existence.
several operations. We generally don't allow any buses to stay on site. We have them drop off, and then they leave. When they're operating, when they're ready to leave the casino, they have a scheduled time, they come back and they get out. Just like you would see like at a Greyhound station. I mean, if you want them in, we don't let them stage. It takes up extra parking that we already need, so we don't allow them to waste our prime real estate.
Do you normally have very many tour buses that come through on a daily basis?
In Pennsylvania, we have one that has about 80 tour buses a day from New York City, because it's only 80 miles. We don't anticipate as many to this location, especially when the downtown Chicago facility opens up. Even Rivers and some of the others, they've actually reduced the number of buses that they're taking from the downtown location. So we don't expect there to be too many. I would say if we did, we might have 10 a day is what I would expect.
All right, thank you. Anybody else have questions before we continue?
I have a question.
Thank you, yes.
This is going to be one garage, not two. And initially, the west garage, as it was referred to, had a sloped inter-ramp, so it was partially below grade. The east, as it was identified, was on grade because of the bedrock. The footprint of this is on the bedrock. So I just am trying to clarify. This garage has no sloped inter-ramp? It's entirely on grade? Or what portion is below grade?
be happy to address that question. To your point, it is all grade and above.
It's
Okay?
all grade?
It's all grade and above. We might be doing, you know, some grading within it to I'm gonna say, work with the natural bedrock, but for all practical purposes, there's no basement. And the ramps go from grade level up.
Okay, follow me then. That's 5 stories. This sound steady identified a 4-floor parking facility with 3 levels above grade. You're building a structure that conflicts with the steady. Two stories above this particular steady. How does that impact?
So I would defer to Dr. Thunder, but I think the key here is what he assumes grade is, right? Because that's the key. If he's still on.
Yes, I'm still on. I'm sorry, what was the question?
The question relates to the grade assumed in your grade and how tall the building is above that grade, since we do have a lot of grade change across the site.
Well, we're talking about is the upper floors beyond the first story that are the most prominent for reflecting sound. So we're not talking about treating the entire surface. Is that what you mean? So grade level would be basically anything higher than we'll say 10, 11 feet would need to be treated.
My question.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question, Bill?
No.
No.
The meeting started off by the chairman asking about, this is 5 stories now. This is a change that we received very recently with very little information about it. There was quite some discussion earlier when the second garage, the east garage, was introduced at the last 2 meetings. And it was quite clear that on the west, there was a sloped inter-ref, and on the east, it was bedrock, and it had to be on grade. As I said, the footprint here you indicated that it's all grade, correct?
Correct, there is no basement.
For the west garage.
Earlier, I believe Mr. Daly indicated that there's 4 stories. There are 5 stories because you have drawings here for 5 levels of parking. So that's 5 stories above grade. This sound steady is for 3 levels above grade. So I'm asking the obvious question.
I can clarify that for you. That half of the building in the west half doesn't have that top level. It's a split.
That's the reason for the line drawn here.
Right.
It's actually
Yeah,
a third.
so it's 4, so you have 4 stories, and what the doctor was explaining is that you discount the first story in that sound study. Or that's what he did. He discounts that first story at grade because it's not bouncing sound out above that fence structure. And thus you don't need the sound deadening on it. That's why the sound deadening is 2nd, 3rd, and 4th only. If that's where you were going. Does that clarify your question?
That helps. Yes. I have another question on the west side. You have a drawing that identifies the acoustic material. And is that acoustic material going to be placed in the area that is black lined?
Vern? I think,
Yeah, at the very least.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay, runs the entire length of the building.
Evenly spread over the entire length.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, we work to make sure that we get the percentage. 60 or 70%.
I've got a question that I asked staff today with regards to the identification of the location of this property as we voted on it. There's an identification to the south, which is obviously 175th Street. There's an identification to the east, which is Halsted Street. There's an identification to the north, which is described as south of I-8294. There's no identification that's clear with regards to the west. I'd like to offer the fact that there is a street sign there, and it says Garden Lane. That is on the east property line of the Garden Homes Development, which is the residential area and development that we're having the concern and discussion about the noise abatement. So I'd like to enter that, which would be on the findings of fact, that would be identified. Is that, there is a Garden Lane there, and it leads right into the parking entrance, or the entrance into the development. I have another question just to clarify. In the materials we received, it indicated that the garage square footage is 580,000 square feet. That can't be right. All of the meetings we've had before indicated 66,800 for the parking. 2 garages, the west was 608, the east was 625, and it was 66,800 square feet. How can this leapfrog to 580,000 square feet? So could somebody clarify that?
That probably refers to one level of that garage. This is something that bigger garage.
You don't know?
I'm sure that's, yes. 500,000 square foot area.
I was not a part of those drawings, but I would assume what Bert is referring to is correct, is that 66,000 square feet, this is assumption on my part, but it's an educated assumption that that meant 1 floor plate of each garage.
The same kind.
Right.
Okay, it's always been represented as the total in the materials.
That's incorrect.
So,
Do we have the
Okay.
footprint of the new garage? Do you have the footprint, square foot, just to be consistent?
Just taking third grade arithmetic, 66 times 5, it's not 580.
No, it's not, but we have a larger footprint.
we're about 130,000 square feet footprint now, which makes sense. It's about double single footprint for the old garage. So comparing apples for apples, if the single garage is 66,000 square feet footprint, multiply that by 2, that's 130,000 square feet, we're right at the same.
Okay,
So I think we're having a disconnect, kind of comparing apples and oranges here.
what can we agree on is the square footage of the garage?
So I can tell you right now, in its current configuration, it's approximately, in its entirety, 578,500 square feet.
Okay.
That answer your question now?
That answers the question.
Okay. Anything else from you?
There were 2 different comments in previous materials. I just want to clarify this. The slope on the grade is a grade change of 18 feet from the original 14. And there were comments that it sloped from the southwest to the northwest, or from the southeast to the northwest. Both were represented here.
Yeah, I can answer that. So we're working through preliminary grading plans right now, and it does slope around 18-ish feet from the, northeast to this, northwest to the southeast. That's sort of your lowest point. But all of the grades where we match in on the north, south, east, and west all match existing. So we're not changing our limits of our grading, it just slopes naturally.
Okay, you're saying it slopes from the northwest to the southeast?
I think the lowest
In the materials
point,
that we have been given, is the opposite.
It slopes down from south to north. That
Oh,
makes sense, yes.
Okay, that would be correct, southeast to northwest.
Yep.
Okay. I thank you.
Okay.
Anything else from you, Bill?
I'm looking. I made a few notes. Oh, I think that'll be it, but I would like to make one typo correction, since we approved these documents that are part of the packet. On your drawing that's Lex-1, Homewood is identified, but East Hazel Crest is identified as East Hill Crest. That should be corrected. No other comments at this time.
Okay. Anybody else?
I think all the questions have been answered. I'm glad we went through the exercise with the questions from last time, because I think you guys, I think you would say that it was a win-win. I mean, look at what you accomplished. You got the bus parking, you got the bus lobby, picked up the walkway, covered parking up top, more parking spaces, larger footprint. So, and we took care of the sound, hopefully at a somewhat minimal extra cost. I think you put your heads together on it and did a good job.
So far, they've done everything that we've asked them to do, which is quite commendable, and we thank you. I've got a question about 174th Street. The street is there now. In some of this material, is 174th Street still going to be in existence once the garages are built and the casino is built? Can anybody answer that question?
Yeah.
Well, you do water and you do roads, good.
So 174th Street will create a hammerhead at the end right before it hits the casino area. So it will no longer go all the way through the site. That piece is going to be vacated.
Now, it mentions something about access for emergency vehicles.
Yes, so there is going to be a gate on there that's going to have a lockbox. And we had a meeting with the fire departments for East Hazel Crest and Homewood to talk through what they would want for that gate, because they do want fire access still through there.
Right.
So we will have a gate, and they did have a recommendation of what they wanted on that gate so that they can access it. I can't recall the product that they asked for, but we're working with them on that.
Okay, what about East Hazel Crest? Would you be working with them on it also?
Yes, they were on the same call. The
Oh.
fire departments from both villages were on the call where we were talking about the access, so.
Okay,
Yes.
so 174th Street will dead end at your property line,
Correct,
just before the housing development
correct,
to the west.
yes.
And there was also a mention about the access road from the north, or the, not you, it's off of your property, but there's an access road from where the storage units are at. Can you said something about a T intersection? Where is that road going to run to?
I'm not sure what road that is. Matt, do you know what road that is?
You mean Lathrop?
No.
You mean the northwest corner of the property?
Oh, the corner.
Is that Frontage Road that we're talking about?
The frontage road.
Oh, okay, yeah, so Frontage Road will continue along the site, and that'll continue all the way through, and that'll bring you all the way back to the front main entrance, taking you to Halsted. So that's still intact. And more along the site. Sorry, I didn't understand the question.
Okay, that's the frontage road from where the
Yes, yep, the storage facilities here.
storage facility is at.
Correct.
And that will run to 174th Street still.
It does not run to 174th Street, it takes you out to Halsted Street. 174th Street does not have a connection through.
So this road here.
Right, so it does take you to
Correct.
174.
To the north.
That's 174th Street.
Right, 174th at Halsted.
At
Sorry,
Halsted.
yes, correct, the main entrance at Halsted, yes.
Okay.
Yep,
Okay, so we'll still take you out
yes, to Halsted.
to Halsted.
Correct.
Okay. All right. I think you've answered all the questions that I've had. But I may find something else. Anybody else? Does anybody in the audience have a question they would like to ask about the casino or the parking garages or anything related to it?
I do have some questions. This is Michael Haberly. I'm the attorney for the Garden at Homewood Place Condominium Association.
And you swear the testimony you're going to give is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do. 200 West Monroe, Chicago, Illinois is my work address. Would the buses drive on the service road to get to the parking spaces?
The buses will be able to get in to where the bus temporary parking, they can get through from Halsted, or they can get through off of 175th Street.
And if they come in through 175th, they will go by the retention pond and then turn into the bus parking behind the facility, correct?
Correct.
And the buses behind the facility will wait there for patron pickup and will drop off patrons there as well, correct?
Just to drop off and pick up, and then the buses will go to a different parking lot where they'll stage and wait for their patrons, and they'll come back and use those parking spaces for pickup and drop off only.
The noise from the new traffic has not been modeled, including the traffic, the bus traffic, has it?
I don't believe so, but I'll defer to Dr. Thunder on that.
No, we didn't model the traffic. Our scope was to eliminate the noise from reflections that would occur against the building.
So sitting here today, you can't tell me whether the noise from the casino traffic and the casino patrons would increase the sound level beyond any level of decibels, correct?
No.
Do you know if a drainage study has been done since changing the parking lot configurations and reducing the number of parking lots to one parking lot?
Yes, we have been working through drainage studies for this parking lot.
And has that drainage study been complete for the single parking lot?
We do not have a completed drainage study. We have not submitted any permits or drawings yet to either village.
So you can't say what the effect of the drainage of the single parking lot would be, correct?
I mean, I can ensure that the drainage is not going to adversely affect any of the neighboring properties. We wouldn't be able to, permit-wise, install anything that would cause that. So just through the permitting process with both villages, there's multiple reviews as well as with MWRD. We would be capturing any stormwater and reducing any of the runoff off of the site. And right now, there isn't any detention currently on the site. So in this ultimate condition, we would be decreasing any of the stormwater.
Well, you've proposed one stormwater detention pond on the current plan right next to the, at least in the Homewood side, correct?
Yes.
But you can't say whether the capacity of that stormwater detention pond is greater or lesser than the runoff caused by the proposed plans, correct?
So the runoff from the Homewood site actually will all be captured via catch basins and will be drained north, actually to the East Hazelcrest side, because that is where the land naturally drains. So the majority of it actually goes north, which would go to those northern basins and a northern underground vault. So increasing the parking does not increase that pond on the south side because naturally, there wasn't really any stormwater going to that in the original condition.
And on the fence plans, I saw the proposal for the type of fence. No communication has been made to my clients about the aesthetics of the fence or the parking structure. Is that correct?
No, it's not correct.
How is it not correct?
Because I've been in contact with Marshall Moore for the last 2 years. We submitted our drawings for what was once scheduled a March 10th meeting in front of the Board of Directors of the Gardens of Homewood, which was canceled and to be rescheduled. So they've been aware for the last, since 2020, with regards to what we were proposing. We asked for their input. We received some of the input, and we've been keeping in contact with them.
The fence has changed aesthetically since the since the February meeting of this board, correct?
At the board's direction, you're correct.
And there have been no proposals sent to my client about what that would look like or taken into account any of their concerns regarding the aesthetics of that fence. Is that true?
We were responding to the direction of the Plan Commission. We received the report last Friday, previously. Respond as quickly as possible, get the documentation in this past Friday to be distributed to the Plan Commission. So as a result, no, we have not submitted this to them. I did have conversations with several of the members of the board this afternoon, walking through this before the meeting.
I have nothing further.
Okay, thank you. All right, I have one other question about 175th Street. You're proposing to line up, well, first of all, you're going to make the entrance or exit to the property, the driveway larger, correct? You're going to make it from, I think it's 26 to 40 feet, 25 to 40 feet wide, curb cut on 175th Street off of Halsted.
That's correct, yes.
And then you're going to install, and that's going to line up with the driveway across the street on the south side of
175th Street.
27.
Correct, they'll line up now in the news.
Which driveway is it going to line up with? Where the Walmart driveway?
Yes, I do believe it's Walmart's driveway.
Okay, and then you're going to install a stoplight at that new intersection.
That is our intention, yes.
Okay, and that will be tied into the stoplight on 175th and Halsted.
I don't believe it is. I'm not sure if Louis or someone from KLOA is on
I've read
them.
conflicting things about that. Something said yes and something else said no. So.
Javier Milan, are you still on the Zoom call?
Yes. I would like to be sworn in. I haven't been sworn in yet. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, my name is Javier Milan. I'm principal with KLOA, and you are correct on everything you have said so far. The state agrees and likes the idea of lining up the access drives. And we're working on, or we revised the study and we submitted back to the state with a new geometric plan for 175th Street and with the proposal for the signal. The signal would have to be interconnected, so we're waiting back from the state on this latest submittal to hear back their answer.
Okay, but your plan is to try and have it work in conjunction with the traffic light on 175th and Halsted, correct?
That would be ideal, correct. That's the plan.
But the state is the one that controls that, so you have to wait for their answer.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Anybody else?
I have one last question. Will any of the changes that are being discussed tonight, the new single 5-story garage, the berm, the acoustic materials, have any impact on your construction timeline? That was expressed in the last meeting?
No.
No, okay.
You're planning on getting started as soon as possible.
Correct. We had a meeting with the IGP, Illinois Gaming Board this morning. And what we have to do is submit our contractors for the first phase of construction for them to review. And once they approve, then they'll allow us to go forward with the next construction. So we're hoping within the next few weeks or so.
Okay. Might even be warm by then, who knows? But don't count on it. All right, anybody else have anything?
We've got to change the findings of fact before we take a vote. Because number 3, it should read, Wind Creek LLC proposes one structure, a 5-story garage above grade, or a garage 5 stories above grade, 64 feet tall, with 1,515 parking spaces. That essentially would be item number 3. And the staff recommendation at the bottom, 920 West 175th Street should be removed and Garden Lane should be put in, inserted.
So it should be 920 West, or it should be 920.
920 West 175th Street is a business, which is on the west end of the Garden Lane ingress to the Garden, Homes of Garden development. And it's an east-west address, which doesn't coincide with a west property line that is trying to be identified. So it should be Garden Lane.
Do we have an exact address, Angela?
No, maybe not yet. So we can use the garden lane as that other boundary and describe the property location.
So we're gonna change 920 West 175th Street to Garden Lane?
Can we revisit your suggestion about the height of the garage? You're suggesting that it is one structure, I agree, but it's not really a 5-story structure. It is one structure, with the western portion being 3 stories above grade, and the eastern portion being 4 stories above grade. So it kind of locks them into what we see tonight. If we say it's a 5-story structure, I'm not saying you would do it, you could raise the western half. Right?
Right.
So it is a single structure.
Maybe we're dealing in semantics.
We are, yeah.
Not stories, levels. There are 5 levels, not 5 stories.
Correct, but not in totality. The western portion.
No, I understand. That's half
Yeah.
a floor.
Correct.
2/3 of a floor.
Right.
How would you refer to it? It's levels. There are 5.
I would call it a single structure with the western portion being 3 levels above grade, grade being 1, no count that, or 0, and the eastern portion being 4 levels above grade.
Somebody's going to ask you what's the definition of a level.
Sure.
We have, on the elevations, we have the height identified. As I recall, I believe the western portion is
64 feet.
64 feet.
Right.
The eastern portion is 51.
51 feet.
No,
Have I got
Western
that?
is 51 and the
reversed,
eastern
right.
is
64 is on the
Yeah.
east.
Yeah, refer to it as a height. Yeah,
Yeah,
that would make more sense.
sure.
So you want to define it by the height and not by
Levels.
levels.
Levels and stories.
Which is already in.
So 51 feet tall at the west elevation and 64 feet tall at the east elevation.
Correct.
And we agreed on the
Square footage, which is in the material that we have tonight, at 6680, it should be 578,500.
578, 500.
Well, it's rounded to 580,
Right.
findings of fact.
Before that,
Yes, sir.
You should make the motion.
I should make a motion.
We do have more we do have witnesses on from the garden at Homewood, if this board would indulge,
On Zoom? Or,
in person.
Oh, we do.
we did ask.
Well, I asked if
for
anybody had a question, nobody raised their hand. Okay, before we continue on, anybody in the audience have a question about, okay? Could you, yes, we need your name and address, please. And you swear the testimony you're going to give is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the true self you got? Okay. Okay, and what is your question?
Okay. At the last meeting, there was concern about the water flow, and it had to do with water going north. Now, we're not highly educated seniors, but we do have several retention areas. We have a retention area going on the west side of our community, on Lathrop. There's a water flow, and on 174th, on the corner, the west corner, we have a large retention area. And then the last 2 or 3 years, we received the 2 retention areas that's on 175th. And I believe there's going to be a retention area or a pond around the casino. So the main concern is that we won't have any water issues or backflow issues or extra concern about that. And the young lady, she did speak about the retention area, but she was talking about the east. She didn't say anything about the west, which is where we would be affected, which would be on that square of 174, 175th on the west side, east and west.
When you were doing your calculations for the water retention, did you take into consideration the other side of the property line?
Yeah, so, when looking at the drainage pattern, we're making sure that we're not draining any more offsite or out to the west, than what is being done today. And, right now, actually, there's quite a bit on the west that currently drains onto that property. And we're actually gonna reduce that by, I think almost all of it on the west side. So we're not gonna drain, any of our drainage onto that property. All of it is gonna remain on. And also, I just want to point out, I know that they're blue, but those aren't gonna be wet bottom. They're gonna be dry, unless it really, really rains and fills up. But those aren't gonna be like, actually the water content.
Yeah, Pat did mention that about where the hotel casino would be. Just a general question about pollution. Will there be any extra air pollution or quality of, quality of air, would that change any? Because of the cars, because of the building pipes or whatever?
We are not experts in regards to air pollution on site. Speak to that tonight.
Yeah, because we do have I-80 with a lot of cars and emissions or whatever. The other thing would be the noise factor, and it might sound petty, but will there be helicopters coming in on top of the roof of the casino or little things like that? Not air traffic? Okay. What we would like to do is, as a board, we would still like to meet with Mr. Daly, with our attorney, to go forward with that, because Pat and I did talk over the last 2 years, but it was a general conversation, and we did not receive any really plans until after we became more aware of your first letter to our community, stating that there would be a meeting in February. And then that's when I called Pat, and he said, oh, you don't have the different drawings or whatever. We said no, and he kindly sent those to the board. So that was this year. And then also we were just anticipating or not knowing whether or not the casino would, happen in our community. And that's one of the main reasons why there hasn't, been more detailed conversation. And so we can we do that whether you go forward with this tonight or not? Can we still have?
Can you meet with
the
certainly.
board and our
That's
attorney?
something you would have to arrange with them.
Yeah, but we had tried to, not we, my attorney had tried to reach Pat, and I know you're busy.
I've had no messages.
From where?
I've had no messages for.
That's what I was told, that you were being reached, tried to be reached. Okay, so if we could plan that within the next 2 weeks? Okay, because then I guess we don't have to cover some of the other concerns the community have. But I would like to, we have other board members here, and if they wanted to say something at this time.
Well, that's what I asked earlier, and nobody raised their hand.
Yeah, no, I think we would just, thinking the protocol would be different, that after everything that just like this just happened.
Mhm.
That's what we were thinking.
Well, we want to hear from anybody that has questions.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am, could you?
I'd like to, my name.
Well, the lady behind you had her
Oh, I'm
hand.
sorry.
Mm.
Just a quick question, my name is Amanda Davis, I'm the Garden of Homewood.
Could you come up to the podium also, please?
I understand that you said the street was gonna change at 175th.
Okay, what is your name and address?
Garden Lane.
What is
It's
your name and address?
Amanda Davis, 906 Garden Lane in the Garden of Homewood.
Okay, you swear the testimony you're going to give is going to be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, nothing but.
Yes,
Okay.
I do. The street of Garden of Homewood, is that gonna change its location? I heard them speaking about, Garden of Homewood is gonna kind of change at 175th? Or did I
No,
misunderstand that?
No, we're not changing that street at all.
You're not changing?
What they're going to do is where you go into Chick-fil-A now and, what is it, Panera?
Yes.
They're going to change that driveway so it lines up with the driveway from Walmart on the south side of the street.
Okay.
So that you're not zigzagging, trying to go.
And then I also
And then
heard
you're
them
gonna put a
mention,
stoplight in there also.
then I also heard them mention of something about the stop light is gonna be wider? Or is it gonna be a change with the casino coming in?
The top one?
The stop lights.
I can speak to that.
Oh.
You're referring to the driveway.
Right.
It will be slightly wider.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes, allow 180 to.
Last but not least, with all the changes, will that affect the increase with the residents in the Garden of Homewood with all the planning? whether it be from the sewer point or from the street point? Will we have extra costs with like the retention pond? Would that be affecting our residents for a higher cost? No? Okay. Like the water bill, yes.
No, they're not tying into your water line.
Oh,
They're,
okay.
they're putting in their own.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're the wrong group for that
Yeah.
question.
You had a question, miss? You want to come up here also?
My name is Laura Alexander. I'm 913 Garden Lane.
And you're going to swear that testimony you're going to give is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I most certainly will.
Okay.
Nothing but the truth. Well, first of all, I just moved into this area May of 2020. And I would not have probably done so had I known all of this was going to occur. Simply because I am the unit right next to the parking lot. So I'm going to have to look at this wall every day, and I thought I was aging in place. I thought I was getting a place I would be forever. But I'm going to look at a wall every day. Aesthetically, I've lost what I'm going to lose what I have now. So you say, all you're looking at is Halsted, but I see movement, I see grass, I see birds, I hear all of that. I like that. So now I want to know what this wall is going to look like. You're describing stuff, I cannot visualize that. I guess I'll have to go online to find out what a Semtech wall is and what it looks like and the materials and all of that. Also, I just came here in May of 2020, and somewhere, maybe it was on the job or in one of the chronicles or newspapers, it said something about a meeting here talking about a casino coming in this location. I came to that meeting, it was September, I believe, in 2020. And I mentioned then, what are you gonna do for me? What is that gonna do for my taxes? Because I am so totally impacted by this, okay? So I have never spoken to anybody else. And I was surprised that the people in the community didn't seem to know too much about what was going on. So my concern was that where were we, or why weren't we brought in sooner than the letter that we got in January about what was going on, so that we will have input. And perhaps maybe like Frankfurt, we might have said, we don't want one. I'm just saying, okay, now you're giving out some more diagrams. We don't know anything about that, but we can read a little bit, just a little bit, to find out exactly where you are impacting us. That's the first thing, because that was about me. The second thing is about the community. 175th Street again, the stoplight. All well and good that you're going to move it so that it will be symmetrically across one from the other. The problem is, if you notice how we go into our place and come out of it, where that stoplight is, we won't be able to get out of our unit. Because when the cars stop for the light, do you think they're going to allow us to come in and come out while they're waiting for the light so that we can go to either to Halsted? That's going to be kind of tricky. So I wish someone would look at that.
Well, at least the good thing is the traffic will be stopping as opposed to it now if you want to get out now, you got to kind of take your chances.
You're absolutely correct. Yes. However, but when that light changes, both of them going to change, we're going to be sitting out there in the lane, in the traffic lane, so that we can get in to turn. Are you tracking?
To get to Halsted. To get out to Halsted.
You want to get out.
Correct,
right.
correct.
Well, we don't know how right now, they're waiting for the answer, how those lights are going to be connected and how they're going to be timed.
Well, right now, we're concerned about that.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sure. With regards to your first question, again, in consultation way back when, typically on zoning, we're required to put a landscape barrier and a septic fence or something. As a result, what we've decided, we have a 3-foot berm, at that time we had a 6-foot stockade fence, but we suggested to the community that we would plant our trees on your side of the fence, so that you weren't looking at a fence. And then we would have mature growth trees, at least 8 feet in height, at planting. And Robert, correct me, but at full growth, these are coniferous, so they're gonna be green all year long, and they reach a height of 35 feet at maturity. So as a result, you're not gonna be, we're hoping, be patient, you're not gonna be working in a 40-foot concrete wall. But that was the attention we gave to it, and this is the commitment we made.
So hopefully your birds will still be there.
I
They'll find those new trees.
saw the robins yesterday.
And may I ask Miss Alexander a quick question?
Yeah.
Miss Alexander, are you asking the board deny or delay consideration of the vote tonight so that you can see what the fence will actually look like? Because we have no idea, and you haven't been provided what the fence will look like, and to be able to do some further research based on the new plans, including the higher fence that was decided to be implemented today.
When is the next meeting? When was the next meeting? 2 weeks from
I
today?
had a picture of it somewhere. It was a small picture,
I
but.
don't think you're required to call out a specific fence model number or color or
No, yeah.
anything at this
That
meeting.
wouldn't be
It's not in our
discussed.
purview.
That wouldn't
It's
be.
an or similar. That would be something more for building and drawing approvals.
Again, we're happy to discuss.
Yeah, I had looked it up, and somewhere in our information, there was a website, a link to.
Simtech, that's what this is from. Certainty, the Simtech.
Yeah, it's in the acoustics.
Here it is. Right.
Yeah.
It's on Lex 1, drawing Lex 1. It's an insert here.
Right.
And it's not a specific.
Page 46.
Yeah. I don't have that on mine.
It's page 3, but it's page 46.
Yeah, I had a very tiny picture of it, but I did increase the
You can
size.
get that link.
There it is.
But again, it's proposed and it's or similar, so that it's not a defined final plan.
And it comes in a variety of colors.
We don't approve final plans here. It's not our purpose.
Okay.
We're conceptual.
But at least you'll have the trees on your side of the fence,
Of that fence.
of that fence, yes. Okay? Anybody else in the audience have a question? Yes, ma'am. Could you come up to the podium again, please?
It's a general question. By us being seniors, we feel kind of vulnerable to the people that will be coming and going, and then we have.
Can you speak a little louder?
Yes, by being, the Garden at Homewood Place is a senior community, and we do have a concern as being vulnerable to the outside people that are coming in. And we just wondering, has there been any thought made, Pat, as far as our area, community on the outside, have some kind of assurance of security? You know, what kind of patrol or cameras or monitors or something, because we're gonna have those 2 gates, two fences, you know, with the gaps. And we have a concern about we have too much trash now flying into our community, Portillo's and Chick-fil-A or whatever. So we're just wondering if you have any kind of checks and balances.
We have 3 cameras on the back perimeter. We have patrols on the parking lots, all hours. And I guess you have to, just say now we have actually 12-foot area, cross over, we get into another area before we get to your fence. So I think we've actually doubled the security. And the fact that we have a solid fence, a 3-foot berm, a 9-foot fence, I don't think any trash is going to be going into the area.
Yeah, that'd be great. So we also are hoping that, kind of nervous here. We had the security and the trash, and just thinking of the years to come, as a business, what kind of check and balances do you have? Like every 5 or 10 years, you're gonna check those fences for stability? The backflow, is that gonna be checked so many with the rules and regulations of the city? I'm just wondering about the checks and balances in the future. As a community, we won't have control of how you do things, but we might start having complaints about something.
Well, if you look at any of our facilities, we run for Diamond Casino Resorts, and with that comes a high standard of aesthetics. So if we have crumbled looking places, we're not going to attain our status, which is going to hurt us in terms of revenue. So we always make sure our capital reinvestment is top notch. We don't, I know, I went to Joliet, I went to Ameristar. I mean, I would never allow our facilities to ever look
Get that way.
Get that stance.
Yeah.
All of our properties, we're reinvesting every year probably $50 million back into our properties, because it has to be a AAA or diamond, which means if you're looking at like some of the downtown hotels, like the Drake, the Peninsula, that's the standard that we adhere to. So it would be it's in our best interest to make sure it looks pristine at all times. In terms of security, it's in our best interest as a business to make sure it's a safe, inviting place, because if we have a facility where it's dangerous or people don't feel safe, it'll impact our business. So it's very important for us, not just aesthetics, but security are generally our top concerns, to make sure that we provide a place that people want to come.
Right.
And if we don't provide that, they won't come.
Well, you know how a lot of people go on the web and read different articles and rumor from other people that live around casinos. There are certain impressions and conversations as being devastated as far as the property going down. And by being seniors, we do have, that's our little investment. So that is a concern, and I understand what you're saying, but I just wanted to put it out there because that's what the community is talking about. And so,
I would say that places where we built casinos or we've acquired, generally things start building up around it. So we try to see ourselves as economic drivers where people want to be close to, because it provides jobs, provide great wages. So we think those are positive things that build up. Wherever we invested, we usually see other businesses, we see housing, thrive in that because of not just our wages, but it's a nice place to look at.
right, because we have a lot to lose only because we're going to be excited about this in the beginning, but we don't want to where people will start, as Laura said, well, maybe she shouldn't have moved here if she had known. We don't want people to start moving out of our community because it would be a great loss, because right now we have a lot of people that have an interest in moving in, and we don't want to lose that interest, because that way we lose our condominium status and we don't want to go to public housing. So that's why I just brought it up, and not just my thinking or talking, but just the community. I just wanted to express that.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
And whatever they tell you, that's good, that they've stated a commitment to doing that. But to the extent you have problems in the community with anything related to the casino, you can bring that information before the village. I would encourage you, if for some reason they're not meeting your standards, if you won't have to sit passively by and wait for something to happen. You can always talk to Angela, you go on the village website, there are certainly lots of ways that you can make your concerns.
Right. Well, I appreciate you making that statement because we do have community members that are looking over Zoom at what's going on tonight, but it won't be the same 5 or 6 dedicated people that we have now to our community on the board in the future. We want them to be able to hear some of this, that they can open up and communicate with the city of Homewood and also with you, sir, in management and Pat. So because a lot of times on the board, everybody has different expertise, but we can still say, yeah, this is good, but then we can have our complaints and not even think to come to you for help or assistance, or just make you aware, that maybe something could be done in the next few years or whatever. So thanks a lot.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. I have one question for Ms. Moore, if that's possible. Ms. Moore, you're asking the board to deny the relief sought by Wind Creek tonight, correct?
Well, what I did put out there to Pat, that we would be willing to let things not say deny if we can have a meeting with our attorneys with Pat. I did bring that up.
And you don't want the board to give them the relief they're seeking until that meeting takes place, correct?
Right, yeah, yes. But we don't want it where we have to have a big meeting or anything like that with
Well,
with the
we can't
board.
hold up, we can't hold up tonight's vote or discussion or anything. You've had ample time to set up this meeting and it's not been done, and that's not our fault.
Well, it's not our fault as seniors not really finding out a lot of things until March the 10th. There was a generality in the news that it might happen. There was a generality in conversation that we hope it
So
will
these
happen.
letters, you should have gotten.
We only got 2 letters.
One of them was in January, though.
Laura was the only one that got a letter about, when was that you said, 20-something? Laura, about the, you and Jerry were the only ones that went to that meeting and came back and said there was a meeting about the garage.
And that was
We had
back
no
in
idea.
September.
We didn't really,
Right.
other members in the community did
There
not
was a
receive.
public hearing February 10th, and we did send letters in January to everyone.
Yes, I'm saying this year, but before that,
Right,
that's what I'm saying.
but we
you know.
can't delay the hearing.
Right.
It's been continued.
But I also wanted to make it comfortable for us and Pat, just stating that whether you accept it or not, that we would be able to meet in the next couple of weeks. So I just wanted that commitment. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Last question, will our taxes be higher, the residents, as a result of this new plan?
That's not our, that's not our.
That's the county assessor.
That's above our pay grade.
They don't let us touch the money.
Yeah, our zero pay grade. We don't get paid for this.
Anybody else? Okay, anybody on the board? Questions, comments before we continue on? All right, we have case number
Oh, wait, do you have
We don't make the motion.
Make a motion?
for the motion.
O'Brien's gonna make the motion.
Yeah.
But before we do that, the findings of fact don't reflect the changes that we agreed to. I presume it would be on a landscaping exhibit for the height of the.
Yes.
I was just gonna read that. I had
Okay.
prepared
Okay, well
a
then,
replacement for item
Great.
number 3 on the findings of fact. Wind Creek, Illinois LLC proposes one structure, a parking garage, 51 feet tall on the west side, 64 feet tall on the east side, 578,500 square feet with 1,515 parking spaces. That would replace item number 3 that we originally received on the findings of fact.
Correct.
The other is the staff recommendation that the 920 West 175th be removed and Garden Lane replace it.
Okay.
Question about number 3.
Yes.
Are you cutting off the tail end of number 3 then? With the reference to the, how many ADA stalls, the surface parking spaces, the bus parking, and the fact that the tour bus staging will be off-site? Because you ended your statement at the number of parking stalls within the garage. But there's more to it.
Identifying the parking stalls, just the 1,515.
That would include everything.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay.
But what you're suggesting still doesn't address what I would presume would be an amendment to the landscape exhibit. So we need, would it be, what number would that be? Number 8? Number 8, maybe?
Well, 7, it's, but
Seven,
it's a
okay.
bullet in 7.
Do you have wording you'd like to add?
Well, just under item 7, the second bullet plan that refers to the landscape plan.
Yeah, that would be a new plan.
Yeah, so
revised.
that would have to be, the cross-section would have to be revised to reflect that
Right,
the
to reflect
barrier would be a 3-foot-high berm and a
And a
9-foot
9-foot
tall, 9-foot tall fence.
Well, in,
Well, rather than specifying them, why don't we just say amended for discussion of this meeting, this date?
Just make it number 8.
well, further in that regard, though, everything is prefaced by the statement, proposed development is to be constructed in general conformity with the following plans, or as they are subsequently amended, because the
Yeah.
dates that are on this are all wrong.
Right. Different.
And we said earlier, that this is not final, in response to Zoom's question.
Bill, you usually like to have more specifics.
Right.
To it.
General Colnera is right, it's self-decided.
Are we ready, Mr. Chairman?
Well, we have to get all the specifics in.
I would be more comfortable making reference to revision to the barrier on the west side.
Putting that in, mention a 3-foot berm with a 9-foot fence.
Yeah.
That way there's no question. And as far as the parking information, everything else would still be included, the 35 ADA stalls, but in 7 surface parking spaces, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
All right, so, and we're gonna do, you want 3 separate motions? One for site plan approval, special use, and variant?
I think we can,
Or
it's
just,
up to you, we can do them all.
just
in
do
one
them all at
motion.
once?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just make sure that we do that, just as we include, since we said as amended to include.
He has to specifically.
Right, but just.
It's our case.
I'm trying to find out what the specifics are.
It's,
What's our case number, Angela?
Case number 22
22.
22-03.
Oh.
What is it?
22-03.
This case? It says 04 here.
It says 4 here.
But, yeah, it's just to reflect the area.
It says 04 here.
Okay.
All right, so it's 22-04 case number.
Okay.
All right, I will then entertain a motion for case number 2204.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for case number 22-04. Approval. Site plan approval, special use permit, and variation from height for a parking garage at 17400 Halsted Street, Garden Lane, and west side of Halsted, south of I-80/294, on application by Wind Creek, Illinois, LLC, in the B4 Shopping Center zoning district, and incorporating the findings of fact into the record and recommendations to the Village Board of Trustees with the findings of fact amended. Number 3, to read one structure, Wind Creek, Illinois, LLC proposes one structure, a parking garage 51 feet tall on the west side, 64 feet tall on the east side, 578,500 square feet with 1,515 parking spaces. Also, under findings of fact number 7, bullet number 2, landscape plan exhibit dated January 19, 2022, as amended with this meeting, March 24th, 2022, to include a 3-foot berm and a 6-foot fence.
9 foot.
9 foot. You're right. That's it.
My counsel here.
You're right.
That's a 3-foot berm and a 9-foot fence.
Right. Sorry.
That's okay.
You're doing so well.
Okay, so we have a motion by Member O'Brien. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Member Camp. Roll call, please.
Member Alfonso,
Yes.
Member Bransky,
Yes.
Member Cap,
Yes.
Member Panera,
Yes.
Member O'Brien,
Yes.
Member Johnson,
Yes.
Chairman Sarzega.
Yes. Thank you all very much for your time and effort and all the work that you put into this project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We can get another one. We can get both of them.
Doesn't take much. Suck it up. Right?
What's the next one?
Fence.
This one is 10. This one is 9.
Suck it back. What are you talking about? Oh,
What are you talking
the one on
about?
North 93rd, I used to live in the second floor. Yeah, my wife and I, when we first got together, we lived there for 2 years before we bought a house.
Looks like that's the Russian marine anyway.
Right. Yeah.
My lot's only 2 feet wider. My house goes all the way across. I don't have a narrow house. So,
We could,
we can do the other two.
We could punch it out.
Let's
do it.
Take a deep
Our
cleansing
next
yoga
case
breath.
is case number 2210.
Everybody stand up, shake it out.
10 first or 9 first?
Is Donnell Johnson here? You want to come up? Good evening. Are you going to speak also?
Yes, this is my wife.
Okay.
Tiana Johnson.
All right, first of all, you want to state your names individually and your address? And we'll swear you both in at the same time.
Okay, my name is Donnell Johnson, 1319 Elder Road, Homewood.
Okay, and you are?
My name is Tiana Lanham. I live at 1319 Elder Road, Tiana Johnson.
Okay. And you both swear the testimony you're going to give is going to be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay. All right, this is case number 2210, administrative variance for 1319 Elder for a fence height. Legal notice was published in the Daily Southtown on March 6th of 2022. Letters were sent to property owners within 250 feet of your property. Petitioner's application dated February 22nd of 22, and a plat of survey dated 2/17/2021. And you are requesting a variance to install a 6-foot fence on a corner lot at 1319 Elder Road, correct?
Yes.
All right. And the reason you are here tonight, because we don't allow 6-foot fences on corner lots.
Exactly.
And that was explained to you?
Yes.
Okay. So tell us in your own words what you would like to do.
What we would like to do is not put a fence on the actual corner lot. We do not want a fence there at all. We just want the fence on the back side of our house.
Right.
And there's no traffic that comes through there because it's a dead end. It's a cul-de-sac, so.
It's a cul-de-sac.
But see, because you're on a corner, according to our definition of a corner, you have 2 front yards.
Yeah,
if you were in the middle of the block, you'd only have right.
Yeah, they can't explain it to it.
Right.
But that's why I believe, considering that we're on the dead end, and where we want the fence at is nowhere near the streets or the corners. It's just in the back, and there'll be no traffic going through there. And like I said, it's a dead. I haven't seen. Absolutely no traffic.
To look at your lot, you would think that was your backyard.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say next.
That's what we consider our backyard.
Plus, you're on a dead end also.
Yes. And as I say, the front will still be totally clear, no gate at all, because we love the curved appeal and everything. Just the side, technically considering, because it's a corner lot, but it's not going to be nowhere near either corner.
And what kind of a fence are you proposing?
A white vinyl privacy fence, 6 foot.
Okay.
But we wanted to keep the value of our house and get the best fence possible.
Let's start with Mr. Johnson. Do you have any questions or comments?
Actually, I was going to direct my questions to Angie. And I do have one question. I'm trying to visual, because I saw the picture that you sent. The fence is only, you got your back window or your back gate, so the fence is going to be directly behind you? Is that right across from your neighbor? Is that?
Right across from the neighbor, right across from us. Not the neighbors to our right, not the neighbors.
To the main street.
Not the neighbors.
To the other side.
Right. So on the corner of Elder Road and the corner of Hood Avenue, there's going to be no fence. It's only going to be behind our house where our driveway starts, there, and then the back of our house, where there's other houses blocking anyway.
I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to drive by.
Dexter, if you look at, you've got the picture of the house.
Okay, yeah.
The right-hand side of the driveway.
Just
that
part right there.
Right, that part, right.
No,
that part and along going to your right.
Exactly.
No fence in the
is
front.
where they want to put the fence, and to the very right of that is a dead end. So it's
okay.
It's not going to block the front of the house at all.
At all. None of not on the side or the other side. Not at all.
Okay, yeah, good, thank you.
Now, you had a question for?
Actually, I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, it's gonna go on the I guess my right on that side. The front, and that's a dead end.
That's the
So
cul-de-sac.
that's the cul-de-sac. So the gate will be, if you can go over a little bit to that, the gate will be there, just there, and then behind our house. Then all the front where our trees and everything to the
left.
To the left where Hood Avenue is, no fence. No fence all in that front there.
Right, okay, gotcha, that's good.
So you're even with the face of the house, cutting across your property.
No, he wants to come to the sidewalk.
He wants to come.
Oh, that's what I was gonna say, that's what the materials show.
Within 3 feet of the sidewalk.
Yeah, but,
Go within 3 feet.
yes, and that side is the dead end though. That's where no traffic comes flowing or anything.
Right. Yeah, I took a ride down there this afternoon.
Pretty nice.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Johnson?
No.
How about Mr. O'Brien?
I just want to ask the question, you're familiar, this is where the fence, which is highlighted in yellow, is going to go, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And this line going across I drew would be, that would eliminate any variance. In other words, if you put the
Right.
fence across there.
Yes, but then,
You lose that, but you have to come back from the sidewalk 3 feet anyway.
we still have a pretty good, decent amount of yard though, even if we come back 3 feet.
Okay.
You have to come back.
Okay. No other questions?
Mr. Palinera?
I have no questions. In giving this one some thought and consideration, based on, some of the issues that we considered as qualifying conditions in the past, hardship or traffic or busy street or next door to a park. I'm having a hard time finding those similarities here.
Right.
So I don't have any questions, but that's just a comment I need to make.
Are you planning on having a gate along your driveway into the yard, or is that going to be solid?
No, the gate is gonna be there, right, where the concrete, where the entrance is, where it turns, there's gonna be a gate right there.
Okay. All right. So nothing else, Mario?
Nothing.
Okay. Member Cap?
I have, good evening, good night,
Good evening.
actually. I have a couple of comments, and really they're more for Angela. So this will be consistent with our new fence regulations.
Yes, the 3-foot setback with landscaping will be required.
Right, that's why we ask you to, we're changing our zoning ordinance, and so we're using the standards that we'll have later in the year and applying them to you. So you'd be permitted to have this fence, but it has to be 3 feet off of the sidewalk.
Okay.
Because that 3-foot section is intended in the same requirements for you to plant some sort of shrubbery or some sort of green just to soften the appearance of the fence.
Okay.
The village has an arborist, is that the right name? Who could offer suggestions. I don't know if he's thought this through yet. And then the question for you, Angela, is there going to be any kind of like a checklist that will be attached to approvals like this, so that a reasonable amount of time during planting seasons, either in the spring or the fall, to do the planting of these shrubs?
Yeah, we'll have to do that, especially with the new regulations, if this is going to be consistent, so that it's consistent. We'll have to have that as part of the building permit review.
So
it's not going to be for code, it's just.
Process, right.
The process.
And then I could make a reference to the fence that the casino people were talking about. And Simtech actually is pretty economical, but I'm sure what you're proposing is fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, man, we had an opportunity, we could have had them pay for the fence.
You're right.
So, good luck with it. I have no further questions.
Thank you.
Member Bransky?
Yeah, so just to clarify your point then, you're saying that, in a clarification, so in our future fence regulations, the 6 foot is gonna be allowed if it's 3 feet off?
Right.
If it's 3 feet off, yes.
Right.
And only in the exterior side lots, so not in the front
Right.
corner, only in the
Okay.
back corner.
Okay, well, then I'm glad you brought that point up, because, I'll be honest with you, I was looking on my phone at the Google view and everything, and there's no other houses down your street with any fence jutting out towards the street like that, and it's generally a bad look. And that's the reason we have the current ordinance, so you don't have these stockade fences jutting out to the sidewalk, cutting off the view down the street.
Right.
That's why we like tree-lined streets in Homewood, and then you can see everybody's front yard and everything, and if you interrupt that with a bunch of fences coming out to the sidewalk, you lose that. So I really am not in favor of you bringing this out past the front of your house, to be honest with you. But the other side of that is I don't want to screw you over by, we're gonna have a rule change that would allow the compromise that it sounds like you're agreeing to here. So in that case, I guess I'd be in favor with it with the compromise.
And if you brought it back even farther,
Even better.
even better, yeah. Because it really, I agree with Seth here that, it does seem like it would just cut off that your neighbor and just like the view from the street. I know it doesn't cause any side issues with traffic or anything, so that's a good thing, but I would like to see it back a little bit farther too.
Let's consider it.
Farther than the 3 feet?
Yeah.
But if we've got that rule change coming, I don't want to
Yeah.
jackass
We
about
can
it
always
either, you know?
suggest.
So you'll be good with the 3 feet?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody in the audience have a question about the fence?
Thank you for your patience tonight, too, by the way.
We've got one more, so we need to.
We'll get it.
Yeah.
We'll get it.
We're gonna make that deadline thing.
We've got 10 minutes.
Tick tock.
for the next case.
Nobody's going away empty-handed.
Anybody else have any questions or comments? If not, I will entertain a motion for case number 2210, administrative variance for 1319 Elder for a fence height variation to a 6-foot fence on a corner lot.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for approval of case 2210 for a variance from table 8.1 of the Homewood Municipal Code, section 22-95C, to allow a fence 6 feet in height in the front yard at the property located at 1319 Elder Road, and incorporating the findings of fact into the record with a minimum 3-foot setback on the Elder Road side, with landscaping to be approved by the village's arborist.
Well,
Do we have a second?
excuse me, second, you said landscaping to be
Approved.
Is that how it?
It's not necessary for the arborist to
That's what
approve
it says.
Right, it's not.
Yeah.
I think that's how the proposed zoning.
Yeah.
Are you sure it says that?
Yes, I am.
That's so you don't have people just putting a couple petunias
Yeah.
there and say, see, I landscape.
Okay.
Okay.
So that would,
Not that you.
just for my own education, yeah, I didn't get a chance to read what you said, the one you sent out, so.
Right, they would go to our arborist
Right.
to review the plans, the same would be an added step in the process.
But it would apply to who, to which?
The fences in the corner side yard.
Okay, that's right. But only, right, only, right, okay.
Only for this type in this situation.
Right, exactly. Right. Okay, good. That's
Okay.
sorry.
It is spelled out in the new ordinance.
Right, yeah.
With the landscape area between the fence and right-of-way, including the landscape elements required for a transition zone type A, as detailed in table 440503 F3. So it's covered.
Okay, so we have a motion by member Cap. Do we have a second?
Also.
Second by O'Brien. Roll call?
Member Alfonso?
Yes.
Member Bransky?
Yes.
Member Cap?
Yes.
Member Planera?
Yes.
Member O'Brien?
Yes.
Member Johnson?
Yes.
Chairman Surzaga.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Have a good night.
Next.
All right,
One
next.
more.
Case number 2209, a variance for lot width and lot area at 2044 West 183rd Street for the west lot. And the applicant, I'm not even going to try and pronounce the last name. Is Anna here?
Yes, Anna Lukasik.
Lukasik?
Yes, Lukasik.
Okay, this is for a variance for a lot width that's,
And lot size and area.
You swear in.
okay, it was published in the March 5th edition of the Daily Southtown. Letters were sent to property owners within 250 feet. Petitioner's application and conditions for variance dated 2/28/22 and a plat of survey dated 1/15/2020. And you are representing the owner of the property.
Yes, that's correct.
And you want to state your name and address for the record, please?
Anna Lukasik, 8642 South Menard, Burbank, Illinois, 60459.
And you swear the testimony you're going to give is going to be the truth, the whole
Yes,
truth,
I do.
nothing but the truth, so help you God. Okay. So you want to put up a house on that vacant lot?
Yes, the lot is, as of now, it's non-conforming. Instead of being 60 feet wide, it's only 50. Instead of being 81 square feet, it's only 7,500. It's exactly like all of the lots around that already have houses on them. Without the zoning relief, the owner will not be able to develop that lot, will not be able to put up anything on it. The proposed house is just a single family house, 1 story with basement.
And a garage, right?
And the garage, yes,
A detached garage?
Detached garage from the, yeah, in the back from the alley.
Okay. All right, Maureen, we'll start with you. We started the other and last time.
Okay, this is for Angela. So this is actually going to be in compliance with the new, with the regulations that are coming. When will those be coming into play?
Well, if we stay with the schedule, it would be November of this year that the new code would be adopted. And the new code proposes that lots in the R2 district be 50 feet wide and 7,500 square feet, which is the exact dimensions of this lot.
Yeah.
And that's based on a study of non-conforming lots and the actual sizes of the lots in the neighborhood.
Right. Okay, so in light of that, I don't have any problem with the.
So, yeah, basically, if you don't get the variance, it's gonna be buildable in the new code. Yeah.
Okay. Member Bransky?
I'll state for the record, I used to live on the second story of that property on the corner in the early 90s. And it's a very cool old building. Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I mean, my lot's 52 feet, and I got a house wider than that building, so, yeah, I don't have an issue with that. I'd be more concerned about, you're gonna have to petition somebody probably to get that power pole moved. You'll have more of a battle on that than this. I don't have any questions or issues with it.
Okay. Member Cap?
This is something that I noticed and did mention to Angela a little earlier. We're not exactly making a subdivision here. There are two separate lots, of course, but the plat of survey that was presented on page 28 of the packet, item 5B, just to bring everybody's attention to it, there is no dimension from the common property line and the existing garage that serves the apartment building. And so I'm just It appears that the garage is on lot 21. It's just that it's not exactly clear how far off the property line it is. So in essence, would be, without that dimension, we might be creating a legal non-conforming use with the setback on that. But that would be the least of our problems. If that garage were, however, to be on your lot, that would create a problem. So.
I don't know what plat
To
of
be
survey,
determined.
because my plat of survey shows just the empty lot.
Who prepared
we have
your
a
survey?
Plat of survey with both lots.
Yeah.
Are you looking at rings survey?
Yeah, rings.
Oh.
I don't, you know.
I know, and you're talking about that garage there
Yeah.
behind the
Right.
apartment,
Yeah.
right?
How far off the property?
I mean, it could be within 2
Inches.
feet there, or
Yeah.
inches, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's all.
That's the question.
yeah.
Never mind, that's a different, I will put a different one, let me look at the other one.
It doesn't appear that it's over.
So,
the
you're
line.
right, I
It's
mean,
not over the line, but we don't know what.
we don't know what it is, so, I mean, worst
But on
case
this-
scenario would be that that garage is not as depicted on this survey, but it encroaches on your lot.
They'll have to have a new
Oh,
survey.
Yeah,
okay,
new
for
survey has
for
to
the
be
neighbors,
prepared,
okay.
right.
Mhm,
So
okay.
you'd have to have a new survey for your lot, of course. However, it would probably make sense to determine what that separate.
Mhm.
It would be right on that, it'd be in violation of the current ordinances.
So no further questions or comments?
Okay.
Nice looking footprint for the house, whatever.
Member Planera.
Just one, we don't have floor plans here, and we are looking at what is it, we're calling a single-family residence, and this is a single-family residence.
Yes.
No more questions.
Okay. How about you, Mr. O'Brien?
I just have one. According to the proposed drawing that we have here, it indicates you're placing the house to the west side of the lot
Closer to the.
rather than the east.
Yes, to the right, yes.
Okay, so you are closer to the existing building
Yes.
that's already on lot 22.
Yes,
How far away would you be?
6 feet, that's what it's required, 6 feet.
16 feet?
6.
6 feet.
6 feet. A gangway, like where I used to grow up. Okay, no other questions?
6.5 feet.
Why, wait a minute. Why did you do that as opposed to positioning it to the east?
The developer decided to leave like a bigger side yard for the future owners.
I see.
Instead of small one on the left, small one on left, right, just, yeah.
Yeah, but you're putting windows 6 feet away from windows.
But it's,
It'll be 12 feet.
Yeah, I get it, but as opposed to.
Right, as opposed to.
Yeah.
No other questions?
Member Johnson?
I have no question.
Okay. I have a question. Are you planning on selling it as an empty lot?
no,
You're going to build a house?
we're building a house, we are actually already applied for a building permit.
Yeah, I have the same question as, why are you putting it 6 feet from the east?
From right, whatever it is.
Yeah, on the right-hand side instead of, when you got, what,
20
10
something.
feet something on the other side?
18 something, I think, yeah. Yeah, again, just to give future owners bigger
Bigger
yard.
side yard. Okay, all right. I have no other questions. All right, nobody in the audience has a question?
Yes.
Oh, you do.
Okay, so first.
Could you state your name and address, please?
Sure, my name's Caitlin Raddick. I live on 2054 on 183rd Street, so I'm the house next to it.
Okay, and you're swearing that the testimony you're gonna give is gonna be the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth with God?
Yes.
Okay.
So a couple things. When I bought my house, I was told, so I bought my house 5 years ago, and I was told that the lot had to remain empty for 2 reasons. Because the lot size wasn't big enough to build on that land, and also because the garage was built over the plot line. So if they're like, the way they explained it, the garage was built over where it was supposed to be. So even if they could ever build on the land, if for some reason, like, I didn't really totally, I don't remember the certain, like, I don't understand it, but they just, like, they said no one would ever build on that land, that it would stay an empty lot. Now, when the house did go up for sale, so I have 4 kids. I have the 7-month-old who's at home, which is why I keep going. And then I have a 4-year-old and then a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old foster kids. So they play on the land all the time because it is just an empty lot. So when it went up for sale, we called to make an offer to see if we could buy the lot so we could just own it because my kids are always on it anyways. And they told us no. And they said, well, we're not going to sell it separately because no one can build on it anyways. And I was like, well, actually, I live in 2054, like, you know, I just want it for my kids. And they said, well, let us think about it. Then they came back and said, no, it's easier to just sell it all as is. And they wanted to sell it that way. But they had stated no one can build on that land. Like they weren't selling it separately because no one could sell on it. And when I did meet with the owner, I only met with him once because he just rents out the 2-flat. And I talked to him about it and he asked why there wasn't a house there. And I explained to him, like, these 2 houses have been here for over 100 years. Like, there's not enough space. It's a really small lot. And if they do end up building it, even if they have the 18 feet, it's going to look, I mean, it's going to look like a city house where there's nothing but a gateway, like you said, in between, which is not why I moved to Homewood. I moved to Homewood so my kids, you know, we could have space, and if it's that close in between. And then on top of that, if you ever go past after it rains, that whole space, and if you lived on the 2nd floor, you probably remember, like, it floods terribly. So if they build on it, what happens to all that water then? So that's another huge, huge concern.
Okay, I can address both of those. Number one, the lot is exactly the same size as the lot that your house is on.
Okay, well.
So it's not that small, it might appear smaller.
It appears smaller.
Yeah,
I guess
it's the
nothing
same,
on it.
it's the same size as all the lots in the area.
Okay.
The flooding though, is a concern of the village and we.
We're working on engineering drawings, preparing
We
the
are
drainage and all
definitely
that.
concerned about that and our village engineer is aware of it and will be working very closely with this project.
Because I know that my neighbors have lived there forever, and they built some condominiums behind us, and they had promised there would be no flooding issues. They were working with the engineers, everything like that. It's a swamp in the backyard when it rains, and they get completely flooded. So if you just ever, I mean, after it rains, drive past that lot, and my kids can swim in it.
Yeah, I actually looked up the plans for the condo because I know that that was a concern. It was required an engineering review. I don't know if it had any impact or what the impact was or how that was measured at the time. But yeah.
I talked to Max very briefly about this, and
Max is our village engineer.
your lot, or the lot in question, is depressed. The elevation of the new house, of course, will be, it's actually like a raised, whatever, ranch, so it's gonna be a little bit, well, it's gonna be elevated above the street and the alley. The lot itself, I would suspect, might be graded a little bit so that the water drains either to the street or to the alley. And Max was kind of vaguely talking about looking to maybe install a storm sewer in the alley and connect it to either street. So, I mean, that would be.
That's something he can point out when we have the
Right.
engineering drawings
Right.
ready.
I think I sent you.
So they are aware of the
Mhm.
problem.
Yeah, so it would, right now, it gives the impression that it floods only because it's a depressed lot. It hasn't been raised at least to the sidewalk grade?
I mean, honestly, even if it could just be pushed back to November, it would give me my husband some time to decide what we want to do. I mean, we're just, honestly, we're concerned about like, the value of our house. If by some reason it does end up flooding, now all of a sudden, like, we're gonna have to put that with, if we end up listing our house because we have neighbors super close to us, and, you know, it gives us more time, like, my husband's in an apprenticeship, he'll be done in July, and we love Homewood. I mean, we love the school system. Our kids are at Willow, you know, they're in T-ball, like, we're really invested in the community, but it's just right now, like, the idea of a house going up there and our basement flooding all the time, it just is very scary to me.
Can I show you the plans? Have you seen them?
No, I haven't.
So you're the house, to this side?
Yeah.
To the west, so this house is actually gonna be
That name ringed a bell. He lived in that house. He died, he used to work for us, like the water superintendent house there.
This is the one that will be built, and then the two plots are there.
His kids are older than here.
This is the property line.
I knew. I used to go to the parties.
It's not your house is.
It looks like, but the property line looks like actually that tree by my garage is theirs. It's the Juno, I mean.
That I'm not-
property line. Oh, okay. Because if it is, they need it.
Yeah.
We were gonna pay to get it removed this summer, so. They're treating it.
Yeah, I don't know. Have your properties.
That's gonna be on the engineering drawings, I'm sure it's
I think
gonna.
the flooding is a huge concern.
Yeah, and the actual surveys probably play all this out. You're 2054, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you have a sidewalk that goes to the alley, to your garage in the
Yeah.
back. And there's an appendage coming off of the sidewalk, like, is it a concrete pad? with
Yeah.
That could be on that property too. I don't know, but what I'm seeing here on the aerial kind of suggests it might be on that property.
It looks like, from what I saw from the property line, it looks like our garage is just right off of where the property line is, from where they put the marker.
So there you go.
So this is before you fix the landscaping.
We're not judging. We're not judging.
And the windows are nice. But so you can't really see it that well, but it looks like that tree in back.
I see.
That I'm pretty sure, based off when they came and they did the orange markers, pretty sure the tree is there. And like because that tree is uprooting our garage. So like the cement in our garage is totally coming up because of that tree, which I'm pretty sure is theirs, but I think our garage is ours. But yeah, I mean, you have to look at the survey line.
Okay.
But you see how it dips? I mean,
The grading would have to be completely changed so that it drains to the alley.
Well, there's not a whole lot we can do about that. I mean, this is gonna come back up at some point anyway, so I don't know what else.
Drawing reviews, permits, the whole deal, yeah, it's gotta go through.
It's gotta-
all
It's
that.
gotta go through our village engineer, and it has to meet the qualifications, which are that it cannot flood any of the neighboring properties, and that they will prepare a grading and drainage plan to show where the water is going to flow.
So there's a process that they have to go through before they can start building this house.
But there's nothing we can do to hold
Right.
the request.
but if right now it doesn't meet the standards, if it doesn't meet the standards to November.
Well, they've applied for a variance, and there are certain standards that it has to meet to get the variance, which is an exception from the code. One of them is that at least 85% of the lots in the area are also less than 60 feet, and all the lots in the area are exactly the same size. It was originally platted like this in the 20s when the original subdivision was made. It was platted as a buildable lot. So those are the kind of standards that this commission is looking at.
So if you wanted to build your house on your lot today, you would have to get a variance.
Unless you wait until November.
Right.
And you won't anymore.
Yeah. But the fact that we are revising the zoning ordinance, if you think about it, to reflect that we have a lot of situations like this, we're going back to what the zoning ordinance probably was in 1924. Yeah, that permitted single-family house construction on a lot of this size.
Mr. Chair, I move.
Oh, there's another person in the audience. Did you have a question too, sir?
We have another comment.
Can you stand and state your name and address for the record, please?
I'm from 1817 Sycamore Road.
And your testimony is going to be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
So, in my 16 years as a trustee of the village, I've had consistent calls from different residents on issues. But the most consistent is the resident at 2060 West 183rd, who can't be here tonight because they're on vacation. They received their notice while they're on vacation. They again contacted me to speak to you. And they want to make sure that you understand the situation that they have. So there are two doors. Two doors to the west. The current situation is that their backyard floods. Whenever there is really any measurable rain, it's a swamp. Their garage interior floods, and often their basement floods.
And where do they live? Two houses?
I'm sorry?
Yeah, two houses.
Two houses.
They live
The
next
west-
door to you?
The west side
This
of
one.
her house.
Here.
And originally, when the condo buildings, which are located to the north, were built, they were told that what little flooding they have would either go away or won't get worse. It got significantly worse. Then the village came along, regraded the alley behind their house and paved it. The situation became even worse. So, I mean, like today, their yard is flooded. They're concerned that any further building that close to their house is going to make their problem even worse. And again, I know that isn't necessarily the job of this board, but, and also, by the way, there is no presumption that in November that zoning code is going to change. It's not necessarily being, 50-foot lot will necessarily be a lot you can build out a lot of areas. So just please take that into consideration that the neighbors don't want it, they're worried about their problem, they don't trust the village, and they don't trust the fact that if it were approved and a structure was built and it's gone through engineering, that engineering is going to provide them some sort of bond or insurance, not assurance, that their problem will be worse.
So they don't trust the village, huh?
Well, yeah.
I have faith in our village engineer, just to state that for the record. Max is very responsive, not only to questions that we might have, that you as a trustee, Jay, might have, that any resident might have. And he's, in my opinion, very adept at ensuring that if and nobody's disputing this is a valid drainage concern. But all I'm saying is, based on my experience in dealing with Max, he's very attentive to such matters.
And he gets back to you.
Right, and he's also very effective at making sure that things work. So in this particular case, if he has to correct a drainage problem, then Max is going to correct a drainage problem in cooperation with the builder.
Yeah, I'm just here letting the information that the resident wanted me to make sure you're aware of. Now, of course, making it aware with the
I had Max did look at this, he is aware of the flooding in the area. He did say it's very tough, there are drainage issues here, so whatever they do, I mean, best case scenario is they improve the drainage in the area, if there's something we can do to the alley or something that can be done to help the issue. But I'm just saying that, you know.
Well, we could, of course, our findings of fact could be amended to reflect that Max has to give this extra special attention.
Well, I was gonna add the condition to the actual ordinance that a grading and drainage plan be prepared and approved by the village engineer.
Right, exactly.
Prior to issue of any building permit.
Right.
That's gonna happen anyway, isn't it? I mean, that's gonna happen.
It will, but if we put it as a condition of the ordinance, then we
Kind of like, do your job.
put it up to more.
Mr. Chair, I move that we take Angela's suggestion and then close this out.
Take Angela's suggestion.
As a condition.
As a
As a condition.
Right. That's right.
So we have to add that in a finding of fact.
No, that would be added into the motion.
Oh, okay.
And then that would become part of the ordinance. If the ordinance will still have to go through the board, so.
Right. Okay. Anybody else have any other questions or comments? I will then entertain a motion for case number 2209.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve case number 22-10 for a variance.
It says 10 in the approval box.
Yeah, that's what I'm reading.
Recommendation.
Okay, so my apologies.
So we're both
22.
right.
I guess.
Yes, it should be case number 2209.
It's done.
2209. My apology. For a variance from the minimum lot width and minimum lot area requirements of section 4.3 of the Homewood zoning ordinance and section 36-87 of the Homewood municipal code to allow a lot that is 50 feet in width and 7,500 square feet in area, located on the west half of, the address is 2044 West 183rd Street, Lot 21, property index number 29-31-316-019-000, and incorporating the findings of fact into the record, and
The added condition that a grading and drainage plan be prepared for the project and approved by the village engineer prior to issuance of a building permit.
Second.
Okay, we have motion by Cap, second by who else?
Right.
Johnson.
O'Brien.
Johnson.
Dexter.
Oh, was Johnson, okay.
It wasn't O'Brien.
Actually, O'Brien said, I'll third it.
That's my line.
Yeah.
Okay, so
We'll get-
Cap and Johnson,
You'll get,
right?
you'll get.
Roll call?
Member Alfonso,
Yes.
member Bransky,
Yes.
member Cap,
Yes.
member Purnell,
Yes.
member O'Brien,
Yes.
member Johnson.
Yes.
Chairman Sirega.
Yes. Well, good luck.
Thank you.
Anything else for us, Angela, since I went past our time limit?
Nothing.
20 minutes.
Well, that was because of our question from the audience from Mr. J.
No excuses.
His fault.
Blame the casino.
So when do we have a next meeting, do we know? No?
I don't know, I'll let you know.
Okay. All right, I will then entertain a motion to adjourn. And thank you all very much.
Dexter did it. Dexter and Cap.
No, it should be Johnson and O'Brien.
Okay.
Johnson and O'Brien.
What time is it? It is 10:19.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone on Zoom.